Jake, hey, congratulations on your new movie hunt season.
Thank you so much.
You know, to make a movie like this, you must really love Halloween, right?
Dude, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Being able to make a Halloween movie actually during the Halloween season in the Midwest is, I mean, I always go around doing all these things anyway, going to the pumpkin festival, going to the pumpkin patches, but getting to bring my cast and point a camera at it was, it was a delight.
Well, then tell us where the original idea actually came from for you to do a hunt season.
For sure. So my real job is that I work for a YouTuber. I shoot and edit all of his videos. And he did a lot of crazy, wacky music videos, and we would always be looking for locations. And he knew Steve, the guy who owned Realm of Terror Haunted House, where we shot the movie. We shot some music videos in there. And then after one of the music videos was over, Steve and I were just hanging out talking about like horror movies because we both enjoy them. And we were talking about 13 Ghosts, the 2000s 13 Ghosts, and how much we love all the gnarly makeup effects and everything. And he was like, dude, we should do one. Let's just do one. I was like, oh, yeah, good. Let's do one. And so then I just wrote the script. I sent it his way. He was like, this is gonna be complicated. And I was like, how can we make it work? And he was like, he figured it out. He was like, let's see if we can raise the money. I put it out to my web series audience from the previous 8 years when I did a web series. And we just actually ended up raising the money really, really fast. And he was like, okay, we're going to make it work then.
You know what? That's the delight of having a fan base, isn't it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just incredibly lucky. I made, weekly videos every day for 7 years, and they really showed up for me.
Now, is this still at the same haunted house that you mentioned earlier? I mean, did you have to make adjustments? What was it like an active haunted house when you were filming?
So only for the outside scenes. Like when we actually shot the inside of the haunt during August and September. Like we shot the all the interiors while they were getting ready to open, so that we weren't in the way of their actual schedule. But that is the same haunted house that I just spoke of. Like Realm of Terror Haunted House is an actual haunted house in Round Lake Beach, Illinois, about an hour north of Chicago, and we shot actually in their environments, with the exception of like a couple little sets that we had to put together so we could destroy them. Can't go destroying his actual haunted house. And then the outside of it, we shot during their actual open season.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. And the fun center, like the mini golf, the arcade,
Yeah,
was that also on location, or do you had to find a different location?
that's all right there. So like Christoph's Family Fun Center is bowling, arcade, mini golf right next to the haunted house. The haunted house shows up for the month of October, and then it goes back and it's go-karts and other mini golf area. That's what they do over there when it's not Halloween. But that haunted house it sits there year round, except for the big hole. There's this whole thing at the end. There's like a dark maze that you got to walk through where they're really like barraging you with terrifying stuff. And that's actually built out over the go-kart track. So it's it's a really good use of the space. And if you get too scared, you can just go in and play some pinball afterwards or do some bowling. So it's like a nice can ease back out of it.
Now, I'm a horror fan, and adore practical effects, and that's what you truly did with this. Tell us about the practical effects from the gore to the makeup to everything.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I'd love to. So the gore effects were done by two makeup artists called Corey Ruby and Kyle Williamson. And I have had many conversations over the phone, but like Corey lives in Iowa, so he had to drive into production every time we were shooting. So like he provided a lot of the all the weapons and the actual gore things that we were cutting through and destroying with weapons. Like he would bring that, he and Kyle would bring that, and they'd put them together all on a set, take a little time. Basically, a couple of those gore sequences took an entire day to shoot. So that's what you're getting. You're getting in there. You're gonna spend an entire day getting it right. You got one shot at it. You got it. And then so they would build the piece that the weapons were interacting with, and then we would lock that all off on tripods, make sure nothing moved. Had a couple of cameras going on it, and I would bring the actor into the exact same location, and I would just marry their effects piece with the real life actors in After Effects, just like compositing them together. So It was all a matter of them bringing their best to this one particular part, making it as gory as possible. And then I would bring the actors in and they just have to sell it, even though nothing horrible was happening to them because that all happened in a separate plated element. And then for the makeup effects, like the airbrush makeup of the haunt, that's Stevie Calabrese and Liz Cannon. They were our special makeup effects artists for that aspect of it. And they are the actual haunt makeup artists at Realm of Terror. And Stevie was also a contestant on the Sci-Fi Channel on Face Off season 9. So like they've got a long history of doing these kinds of airbrush makeups.
Then that basically says that that haunted house is it's truly legit if this is all all
Yeah,
the
dude. Yeah.
now in I always like to ask horror directors that this question is that there's always that debate between practical and the VFX what obviously for this film it's a lot more practical, but what side do you fall on on that type of debate?
Oh, sure. I mean, practical all the way. I understand that studios like to do a lot of. This is all my understanding as a fan of movies. Like, I haven't talked to any studios, but like that they like the VFX because there's a lot of room for change all up to release. Like, you can change the look of a thing forever, forever, forever until the movie's out, and sometimes after the movie's out. In the case of cats and such, but I like the practical because it's never going to you can never anticipate how it's actually going to react, and you're getting a real tense situation happening live on screen. Like when you hit a prop that is prepped to bleed with a live chainsaw, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. And so like seeing that play out for real on screen is so much more effective than guessing what it would look like and making it in a computer, you know?
So it sounds like you faced a lot of challenges for being an indie movie. I guess every indie movie is a challenge in
Yeah,
a way.
yeah, 100%. But when we had our fair share, it's all you never have the time that you want, and especially when you have like we never worked with our DP, our camera team, our lighting team before, our sound team. Like these were all we'd done web series and stuff with our friends before, but we were like, okay, if we're moving into the future realm and our audience is going to give us the budget to do it, let's actually get some professionals in the industry and elevate everything basically. And so our shooting schedule was very different than what we were accustomed to because everything was much more precise and looks that much better for it. But I had to take my usual shot lists and probably trim them by about a third, you know, just in order to make our days on our tight little indie schedule.
Well said. Well said. Well, let me wrap it up with one last question here. Is how did you gather the cast and blend them in with it looks like YouTubers in certain cameo positions in the film all here in
Yeah.
its entirety?
Well, so it was real easy to cast Rob and Craig, the two YouTubers that you're talking about, because they are two of my best friends. Rob is the guy that I work for. His music channel, he just released an album today. We've done a bunch of videos for that. Craig, Wheezy Waiter on YouTube, he was in our web series. So he's acted with me for years and years and years. And they were also the first two guys who were like, oh, you want to do this? Okay, we'll be in it and we'll also put money to it. They were our first two financing. They were the first two investors in the movie. And so I could never thank them enough because they kicked the whole thing off. And they were in our finance video as well for our We Funder fundraise. They showed up and were like, we believe in this thing, and it helped a lot of other people believe in it too. So they were the easy part. Then it came down to the rest of the cast. We just kind of cast off of, backstage, like just the casting sites. We did a lot of virtual auditions in the Chicagoland area, and then we did a small set of callbacks, and we found incredible people, most of whom I never knew. But like the guy who plays Bradford, the owner of the haunt in the movie, is actually Steve, the owner of the haunt in real life. And he auditioned for his part too. And I was like, oh, dude, yeah, no, this is great. Not only not only is he a good actor, but he also believes all of the things he's saying. And if there was a line he didn't believe in, he's like, here's what it actually a haunt owner would actually think. And I was like, great, let's do that. And then this other guy, Adam, right here, who plays Danny, I had known him for years, just as horror friends. Like he loved horror, I loved horror. Nobody knows more about like 80s and 70s horror than Adam. And then he just auditioned for the movie. He just submitted himself without even telling me. And I called him up and I was like, dude, you're auditioning for my movie. And he was like, yeah. And he was so good that I couldn't believe it. I thought I must be biased because I actually liked the guy for real. And so I took him and the other guy who was up for Danny, the last two, and I just sent them out to like the rest of the producers. And I was like, pick one. I didn't tell them anything about it. And they all picked Adam. And I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. He's the best.
Wow. That is awesome that how you put this film all together. And you know what? You've done a wonderful job, Jake. Thank you very much for carrying this conversation with us. Who knows?
Thank you
Maybe
so much.
there could be a sequel. We'll see.
I I'd love it.